Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Racer TV. Today, we're in Lozella, Georgia for round number 4 of the ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series presented by Parts Unlimited. I'm Rodney Tomlin along with John the Tally. John, it's been an interesting series so far, and today we've got a great stage set for a great race.
Yeah, you know, it's a little bit cold this weekend. We're not having to deal with the humidity and all the heat, and the track's shaping up great. It's going to be really rough, so it's going to separate the men from the boys this weekend. I'll let you know who's done their homework and who hasn't. We got the bike working good, and you know, I've seen a lot of the other racers out there look like they're doing good. I think it's going to be a great race this weekend. It's going to be fun to watch.
Well, consistency seems to be the key for a lot of riders, including yourself and Joe Bird. Joe had a bad first moto due to a broken shock down in Florida just a couple of weeks ago, but today he's back. He's ready to go.
Yeah, Joe's been running really consistent. You know, he just stepped it up his whole program this year, and he's come out. He's been on top. We've been consistently finishing second. So, you know, like I said last time, if I can finish second every race all year long, I think I can end up winning a championship. But, you know, we definitely want to get up there and start winning some races and try to pull a little bit of a points lead. So hopefully today we're going to try to take over the lead and see if we can bring it home this weekend.
Well, we're heading to our 4th round of racing, John, and of course our 4th racetrack, and this one definitely different than any we've seen so far this year.
Yeah, you know, the other tracks have been mainly harder clay kind of tracks. This track is a really sandy, it's kind of a sandy clay mix, and we're getting some really huge bumps in the corners. It's making a lot more lines, so there's more racing lines out there. And we're also getting, you know, some slick turns. So you really have to know what you're doing, setting your bike up and ride. Your riding style has to be totally different in 2 different parts of the racetrack.
Well, we're going to see just exactly how rough this track is getting. Let's go on down and take a look at it right now. And we do that courtesy of one Brett Jones from Leesburg, Florida, the number 65 rider in the Vet 30 Plus division. Gate drops, and here's what the start looks like. A nice, smooth, sandy start, and that's what we're going to see all the way around this race course. The funny thing about this is the kind of racetrack you expect to see in Florida, not the hard-packed clay we saw just there last week for round number 3 of this ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series. As you can see, some elevation changes and plenty of lines opening up inside, outside for some of these riders, and ruts and braking and acceleration bumps beginning to develop. As you notice, as you come around a few of these turns, also you're going to see some jumps that have been kind of built on the inside of the turn. That's kind of separate the inside from the outside, maybe slow it down just a little bit and even it up for those riders trying to go to the outside over those riders that have the inside line advantage. So it kind of evens it out. You can see here in 30 plus class, trouble is taking place over some of those jump sections. And speaking of trouble, look at this. The ruts are catching up a few folks, and let's head on down and take a closer look at this track now. Down here on the track right now, and this is exactly what we're looking at. Sand, pure sand, deep sand. It's the kind you can build sandcastles out of even. And what that means is we're going to have a rough racetrack, and we're going to get to see some great racing action. Let's kick it off with our qualifiers from Saturday. Speaking of qualifiers, one rider you don't expect to see in this one, Jeremiah Jones.
Pretty uncomfortable, you know, having to qualify on Saturday. It does give me a little bit more track time, considering, you know, the conditions and stuff of this race this weekend with the sand and stuff. So maybe to come into my favor and you know, help me out for Sunday.
Do you feel pretty confident in the sand here?
Yeah, I've always done good here back in the, you know, early pro days and amateur days and stuff. So look to do good this weekend.
Jeremiah Jones, not the only rider that kind of favors this race course, and it's kind of funny, it's really the only pure sand race course we've got on the circuit. As the gate drops and qualifier number 1 is off and rolling, and look at this, it's the number 16 of Jeremy Lawson from Battletown, Kentucky. He's got company though, the 199 of Pat Brown right behind him, looks like Spader, and also the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones on that Yoshimura Suzuki. Talked to him just before this qualifier, and again, we don't expect to see him out here on days like this, but it could be to his advantage here this weekend in Georgia as he is trying to get the bugs worked out of that new bike. It's not problems necessarily the bike is having, but he is having problems with the crazy things that are taking place here in the early part of the season. We'll see if he's able to shake that. And of course, out here in the qualifiers, if you're wondering why do we have the qualifiers, where's John the Tally and those guys? Well, the riders that are seated in the top 10, that is riders in the top 10 of the points heading into each individual round, do not have to qualify on Saturday. But we do take those top 10, and they are guaranteed a place on the gate for Sunday's motos. And then we have to kind of divvy up the last 10 positions. And if there are more than 20 riders that have signed up for the weekend's racing, we got to have a couple of different divisions of racing. But this way, we're taking the top 7 as we have only one qualifier. The top 7 will transfer, and then we'll have a LCQ a little later on where the top 3 will qualify. And these are like 10 minutes plus 1 lap of racing as we will take a look at the way things are breaking down here in the early part of this qualifying moto on this Saturday afternoon here at Acheconne. It is the number 16 of Jeremy Lawson who's got the lead. It looks like this is a phenomenal ride for him as he is really starting to stretch things out. Still Brown back in the 2nd place position. Battling back for 3rd place, the number 708 of the Bumblebee, Harold Goodman, and the number 30 of Travis Spader. Then Wimmer in 5th. 6th place, Chad Weenan aboard the number 44. In 7th place, your final transfer spot early on in this qualifier, the number 270 of Josh Creamer. Then Steve Runkle in 8th. 9th place, Jeremiah Jones. And 10th place, the 101 of Rocco Arno. But all eyes, and I do mean all eyes, are on the number 16 of Jeremy Lawson here today, because he is putting together the best ride he's had so far in this 2006 season. As we head into round number 4 here, Jeremy Lawson opening up a huge lead over some of the formidable greats, including the Bumblebee Harold Goodman, the 199 of Pat Brown, and Travis Spader, some of the big names that he is walking off and leaving. Right now, Pat Brown is still holding on to the 2nd place position on board that Yamaha, and he's running those ITV tires as this is the ITV Boost Racing ATV National Motocross Series. Here's the battle back for 3rd. It looks like the Spader is overtaking Goodman now. So Spader moves up to 3rd. Goodman will drop off to the 4th place position, but Goodman doesn't look like he's ready to relinquish that just yet, as he is continuing to try to mount some sort of a challenge from back there in the 4th place position. Through the whoop section now, the deep sandy whoops are going to get deeper and deeper here at Acheconne in this very sandy terrain. As you can see, Pat Brown is still back there, but he is not much of a threat. Look at those acceleration bumps and those braking bumps heading into that turn, and the different choices of lines there. Lawson goes to the inside, to the outside goes Brown, there goes Spader to the inside also. Goodman follows suit right behind him in the 4th place spot, but it doesn't have a lot of effect on what's taking place out there. If anything was gained or lost, it was microseconds, and these riders are not really feeling the effects out of that particular section of the race course just yet anyway. Whoa, Brown out of shape, in trouble, and off the track and back onto it as he does make his way back onto the race course in the first possible safe spot there. But look at this, Brown looks like a kicker bump just basically shot him into that berm there, and then whenever that happened, it kicked him back around again, and it was all he could do to hang on to that. He shot over the berm, and we take a good look at that through our ITP replay there. Looks like those ITP tires got a little bit too much traction there that time around. But again, through the pit area, Jeremy Lawson with the lead. He's getting the pit board, and I know that his pit crew is extremely stoked right now. Look at this. Looks like Brown may be starting to feel some pressure from back in 3rd and 4th. The Spader's been pushed behind him. The number 708 of Goodman still in the hunt. And Wimmer, the number 191, rounding out that top 5. Not much of a change, still back there with Weenan in 6th place and Josh Creamer in 7th as we head late into the moto here. 2nd place rider Pat Brown trying to reel in Jeremy Lawson. Look at the big air he's getting there. But more importantly, I think what Pat Brown is thinking is what is coming up behind him. And that's the experience of the number 30 of Travis Spader, the 708 of Harold the Bumblebee Goodman, just looking for an opportunity to strike and get around this youngster who has been, well, not the luckiest of riders this year. And we know that Jeremiah Jones has had his bad luck this year, but so has Pat Brown. We had a chance to talk with him before the race about how things have been going for him this year.
You know, I feel like me and actually Jeremiah's kind of got the same bad bug that I got. We've been, I feel like we've been 2 of the fastest riders out there, and we've just been having the bad luck. So it's a long season, and everybody gets it sooner or later. And you know, I think we'll straighten it out and get back up front. It's a real motocross race, and it comes down to who's in the best shape here versus you know, just luck other places. So it's a great racetrack.
Right now, he's got company, and luck may not be the big factor here. It's going to be talent that's going to keep him out in front of the number 30 of Spader there. Spader's been around this motocross racing game for a long time, and he's been on this Acheconne sandy track several times throughout the course of his career, and he's trying to find every opportunity he can to get around the youngster out of Pittstown, New Jersey, as they make their way around. Look at this. We see other riders now starting to move up into the mix. That's the 44 of Chad Weenan now challenging the 708 of Harold Goodman. So we've got a battle a four-way battle between the likes of the 199 of Brown, the 708 of Goodman, the number 30 of Spader, and now the 44 of Chad Weenan, who moved up from 6th into a 5th place position. And this gives this rider right here all the opportunity to stretch the lead out in the world, and that's the number 16 of Jeremy Lawson. Look at this. It's even getting tighter than a four-way battle. We see the number 191 of Dustin Wimmer now back in the 6th place position, is trying to throw his hat into the ring too to try to challenge the 199 of Brown. The only rider with any comfort whatsoever is your leader, the number 16 of Lawson. And unless he makes a mistake here in his qualifying moto, he is not going to feel any pressure whatsoever, and that is going to be a huge boost of confidence for this youngster heading into Moto 1 racing action on Sunday morning here in Georgia, which could maybe loft him up into the ranks of being one of the contenders here in the 2006 ITV Moose racing season. Pat Brown seems to be stretching things out just a little bit. Chad Weenan now up to a 4th place position, now challenging Spader for 3rd place. So Weenan has now made the pass on Spader and moved into 3rd. Spader trying to strike back through the Sandy Whoop section, but it's not going to be enough as the youngster going to be able to hold him off. Will Goodman be able to get around now for the number 708? As Goodman now also keeping a very close eye on what's taking place just ahead of him. And look at this, the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones up from a 9th place position into a qualifying position here late in the qualifier. He is going to be on the line for Moto number 1 if he can keep things put together here in this qualifier for the remainder of these laps. And it looks like not only is he going to do that, but he's going to try to make a statement here on this Saturday. It doesn't matter how he finishes, he just needs to finish in one of the top positions. But he's trying to make a statement here as he is all over this race course, and it looks like that this sandy, whooped out, rough racetrack is lending its hand to the riding style of Jeremiah Jones as he's able to work his way up through the pack. He's looking behind him and he's staring at the riders in front of him, trying to eyeball them down to figure out how he is going to get around them now. Chad Weenan is the rider next in his sights. Will he be able to pull the trigger and make the pass before the checker flags fly, as he's all the way up to a 4th place and solid qualifying position here in Georgia on this Saturday afternoon of racing. Again, all they got to do is finish in the top 7 here, and they will be guaranteed a spot on the gate. But again, I think it's a statement that Jeremiah Jones is trying to make on board the Yoshimura Suzuki. And let's see if he can get it done here as the youngster Chad Weenan running in the number 3 spot, still ahead of him aboard the 44. Pat Brown still holding on to the 2nd place position. And your leader, the number 16 of Jeremy Lawson. Meanwhile, Jones still knocking on the door, and look at this, it's Weenan who goes to the wayside. Now Jones up to a 3rd place position. Looks like Jones is starting to close in now and try to challenge for 2nd. Will the 199 of Pat Brown be able to keep his luck alive long enough here in Georgia to hold on to at least a 2nd place finish here in this qualifier? No, it does not, as Jones goes underneath and makes the pass, and look at how fast Jones is going in and out of these turns. He has found the magic race line around this race course, and it doesn't even look like that the number 16 of Jeremy Lawson is going to be safe when the checkers fly. He has got to hold a steady pace up front in order to keep that number 1 spot. Meanwhile, the rest of the riders are trying to latch onto the rear bumper of Jeremiah Jones and maybe pull into contention for the lead, but it's Lawson out front. Jones in 2nd, Brown in 3rd, Weenan 4th, Goodman in 5th. 6th place, Dustin Wimmer. Travis Spader's dropped back to 7th. Rocco Arner now moves up to an 8th place spot. Creamer in 9th, and Steve Runkle rounds out your top 10. Again, only the top 7 will transfer here, though, and a lot of these riders are going to be coming back for an LCQ later in the afternoon on Saturday to try and make it into one of the top 3 positions that will qualify into the Sunday program. Look at this, Jones in the 2nd place now as he gets around the 199 of Pat Brown, and Jeremy Lawson on this final lap is getting the pit board to, hey, do not relax too much, because Jeremiah Jones is back there, and as comfortable as a lead you have right now, it is not comfortable enough when Jeremiah Jones is running on the rail that he is here in Georgia this weekend for round number 4. As Jeremiah Jones worked the bugs out, and is Jeremiah Jones finally going to make his way into the podium overall position finishes after 2 consistent motos? Only time will tell. But in this qualifier, after he finishes a convincing 2nd place position behind that rider right there, Jeremy Lawson, looks like the battle is on here in Acheconne. Taking a look now at our Parts Unlimited results board. Lawson, Jones, Brown, Goodman, and Weenan top 5. 6th and 7th, Wimmer and Spader. And making in for the LCQs, Arno, Creamer, and Runkle.
I don't know, it's the first time I ever pulled a hose shot in a pro race. I got this new TLR motor. and I don't know. I was out front. I didn't know what to do, so I just pinned and grinned. That's all I did. I don't know. I just went.
So what do you got for the mains now, man?
Hopefully I got a top 5, but right now I'm going out. I'm just gonna kill everybody.
Man, you just look so comfortable and smooth out there in the sand, man. Is this your kind of track?
Not really. Actually, I prefer the hard bike. But Fox Shocks has been working with me, and they got all these. They got the shocks dialed in, so they work. I don't know.
I don't know either, but we're going to find out come Moto number 1 whether or not he's going to be ready. Right now, though, it's time to take a look at our Pro-Am Unlimited. We got a couple of different divisions here in the first Moto, and ones to keep an eye on in this one, the 727 of Cale Downen, who has been given your points leader in this class. Some early fits, and that's the 20 of Josh Upperman, but Upperman is back in the other division. So as things start out here, it's Downen followed by the number 17 of Rodney Gentry, a former pro from back in the 80s, back when these were three-wheelers, back before the fourth wheel was even added to this style of racing. So Gentry's been around this for a long time, actually taking a few years of a break. Now coming back, he's actually bringing his family. He's got a son that races. It's pretty cool to see Rodney back out on the race course, and right now he's trying to lay chase to the 727 of Cale Downen there, as we see some battling starting to shape up behind them as they try to get things sorted out. Top 8 transfers from each division. Here's division number 2 being led by the number 20 of Josh Upperman, and if he can hold on to this all the way through Moto 1, and when Moto 2 rolls around, he and Downen are going to have the opportunity to lock handlebars and wheels and battle it out right down to the checkers to see who's going to be the big dog on campus here in round 4 in Georgia. Right now it is Downen out front of Division 1, and it is Upperman still leading Division number 2. And as you can see, it looks like that Downen is loving this facility. He's trying to side it, getting on the side of the ATV. Look at how they're trying to maneuver those ATVs around the turn, trying to get their weight as low as possible to try to get those turns as tight as possible and keep them shooting over those berms. We see some ruts developing in and out of these turns, so a very not only nice race course, but very tricky. You got to hit those lines just right, or you could find yourself having some problems out there. Other riders out there on the course with us is Dustin Royer out of Louisville, Ohio, the number 90 of Hunter Miller, the 311 of Jesse Schaefer, the 215 of Tom Hager, the 137 of Mitch Reynolds, the 79 of Clay Holmes, Adam Clark out there aboard the number 31, Sage Baker aboard the number 49, Mike Brown aboard the number 36, 310's Cody Harris, 156 Denton Boyer, 16 is Johnny Hale, and the 112 of Marco Patronelli. And here's the way things broke down as we take a look at our Moose Racing Pro-Am Unlimited results. Upperman gets the upper hand when it's all said and done with a 1-1. Cale Downen finishes in second. Rodney Gentry rounds out the top 3. Pro-Am production racing that's ran on Saturday. The Pro-Am Unlimited we just saw a moment ago actually taking place on Sunday. They run both motos on Saturday for Pro-Am production racing. As we can see, our first divisions are off and rolling, and we've got a battle out front already. As you can see, looks like Cale Downen, the number 727, who was battling it out in our Unlimited division, also up front battling it out here today in our Pro-Am production. So he is a force, and also the 46 of Sage Baker making his way out to the front of the pack here. As we look back behind them, the 137 of Mitch Reynolds also having a good showing, and they continue to work it out. And all the riders that we see out there include riders like Matt White aboard the number 32, Rodney Gentry aboard the 17, Mitch Reynolds at 137, Derek Vetzmeyer, the number 99, Josh Upperman aboard the number 20, Adam Clark, the number 31, Shane Hitt, the number 5, the 215 of Tommy Hager, Brock Lyons aboard the 743, Hunter Miller aboard the number 90, Clay Holmes aboard the 79. Also, Cale Downen's out there, Pat Thompson, Denton Boyer, Mike Brown, Richard Pelshaw, Jake Hackala, Sage Baker, who we saw there, and Giovanni Ramos. And that is your entire field of 20 top Pro-Am production riders blazing their way through the sands of Acheconne here for round number 4 of this ITP Moose Racing ATVA National Motocross Series. Matt White, a rider that is also making a mark in the pro classes, and some of these other riders not only trying to make a mark in the pro class, but just trying to get their feet wet here. Guys like Mitch Reynolds and Josh Upperman, Clay Holmes, some of those guys just happy to be part of the top of the ranks here in Pro-Am production racing. And these are the guys that we're going to see battling it out in the pro classes in the next couple of years. Some of them, as we said, we do see already starting to venture on over into the pro ranks, including Matt White and sometimes even Rodney Gentry, and even looks like the 270 of Josh Creamer is another rider that we're starting to see a little bit trying to break into the pro ranks and make his mark out there in this 2006 racing season. There's Rodney Gentry. We told you a few moments ago, been racing since the mid-'80s basically, and he was one of the contenders back in the pro class back when pro class racing just got underway, and he's a contender here in our Pro-Am Productions. We see Matt White takes the overall win, Gentry in second, Mitch Reynolds, a good strong finish for him back in the number 3 spot. On next to our 265A racing program, and we've got some great battling taking place here. These are the riders that we'll see soon in the Pro-Am classes, but right now they're still cutting their teeth in the amateur ranks of racing as our first division is off and rolling here in Florida. Keep an eye out for the 328 of Nathan Comer from Philadelphia, Mississippi. That'll be one of the riders to keep an eye on, and that's him out front aboard that Honda machine there. Could be possibly the one to beat the entire 2006 ATV Boost racing season. Most time will tell the story on this one as the racing season wears on. You see other riders out there, including Donnie Miller, Darren Capatina aboard the number 37, Joseph Bruning, the number 28, Kyle Goldberg, the 222, the 888 of Brian Sowers, 217 of David Bonstock, 357 Hunter Johnson, 82 of Chris Bryan, Brian Brister aboard the number 64, Greg G aboard the number 10, Cody Grant aboard the number 81, Brian Tolofison aboard the 44, it's Daniel Schneider, he rides the number 79 machine, also the number 6 of Corey Funk, the 49 of Matthew Weenan, the 25 of Logan Brewster, the 324 of Brian Reese, also the 713 of Kyle McCullough. But again, the man that is in command all weekend long here in the sands of Acheconne in this 265A class, walking away with a 1-1 when it was all said and done, he is number 328 of Nathan Comer. Also Donnie Miller aboard the number 61 machine, finishing third in his qualifying heat race on Saturday. Comes back to take the second place finish in moto number 2. Darren Capatina, the number 37 machine, also a good strong run for him on Saturday with a first place win in his division race. Comes back to a 4th place finish in moto number 2. And when it's all said and done, Comer, Miller, Capatina, Casey Martin in 4th, and Joseph Bruning rounding out your top 5. .265B class as we move on to our next moto here in Acheconne. Riders to watch out for, including Lance Lowe, Michael Carnival, and Ross D'Antonio, just to name a few. And also the 832 of Doug Lancers. Gate drops, racing action gets underway, though. The man it looks like it's going to be to beat is the number 50 Honda pilot, Jonathan Davidson, out of McKenzie, Tennessee, as he grabs the early lead in division number 1. But right behind him, the number 45 of Lance Lowe from Hartsville, South Carolina. Lance Lowe is going to be all over him throughout this entire moto until he can get around. A few riders getting tangled up in that second turn out there, and it's causing some problems for them to qualify. So they have to come back and try it in an LCQ, and some of the frustration level, I'm sure at this point, has reached an all-time high. As we got some of these other classes now making their way in. We see Ross D'Antonio there. Looks like he might have taken a little bit of a shortcut there. Don't know if that's going to affect his overall results or not, but Ross looking for a line to get around, just couldn't find one, so he opted to go ahead and slowly go through that inside turn. And you got to point out, he didn't gain a lot of ground, if any, whenever he did that, so it should all work out for him. Other riders to watch out for out there include, like you say, the 832 of Doug Lancer, William Cottage, the number 14 machine, the 54 of Robert Purnell, the 151 slash of Jonathan Boutwell, the 854 Zachary Moss, the 29 of Theodore Ament, 14 slash of Marcus Serpani, the 51 of Travis Miller, the 44 slash of Robert Cassell, 655 of CJ Waters, 151 of Andrew Travis, 71 of Andrew Morse, 909 of Marco Picado, 16 of Sean Colliser, the 125 of Johnny Jackson, and also the 36 Honda rider of Hernan DeMayo. There's the 45, I should say, of Lance Lowe, who does get around the number 50 of Jonathan Davidson, and Lance Lowe will take a Moto 1 win in his division and come back and win Moto number 2 to to get overall top honors here at Acheconne in round number 4 of this IATP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series here in Lozella, Georgia. There's some more riders checking in there, so it looks like that might be the 13 machine. But nonetheless, when it's all said and done, it's Lowe, Davidson, Carnival, who finished a 1-5, rounds out your top 3. 265C is where we move to next, and we've got a total of 17 riders vying for the number 1 spot in this novice division as the gate drops and the racing action gets underway here in Georgia. The number 10 of Corey Rogers going to be one to keep an eye on. He's from Killen, Alabama. There's the number 57 machine also getting off to a very strong start here in Moto number 1. That's Roger Carter. He actually goes on to finish a 6th place in Moto number 1, but grabs the early lead. We see other riders, including Casey K there out of Paris, Texas, aboard the number 24 machine. He's trying to play catch-up early on to see if things are going to work out for him as the day wears on. But there's the 57 machine, as we said, gets off to a good, strong start. It looks like he is, well, in this 265C class, opened up a huge gap over 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and on back through the rest of the field, including riders like the number 20 of Tyler Lowe, the 21 of Troy Heath, the number 10 of Corey Rogers, 22 of Mike Shapaka, 13 of Brandon Welp, the 11 of Sergio Valpado, 141 of Chad Bumgarner, the 131 of Ronald Michael, the 130 of Clay Lakowski, the number 4 of Mark Campbell, the 74 of Sam Moore, the 35 Rod Nunley, the number 7 of Amy Thompson, the number 191 of Blake Foote, the 24 of Casey K, and the 86 of Jared Hardiker. That's your 17 riders out here in this Production C class. When it's all said and done, Tyler Lowe, though, who will actually go on to finish a 2-2 aboard the number 20, will get overall top honors as Troy Heath, the number 21, finishing 4th in Moto number 1. Come back to take the win in Moto number 2. That rider right there, you see, the number 57 machine, actually takes a 6th place finish in Moto number 1. But having problems in Moto number 2 as he DNFs in Moto number 2 to bring him all the way back to about a 14th place position when this race day is all said and done here in Acheconne. But like we said, it's Lowe with a 2-2, Troy Heath with a 4-1, and a 1-4 round out the top 3 for Corey Rogers aboard the number 10. Standing here with Rocco Arno now, and Rocco just missing that qualifier in the pro qualifier here on this Saturday here at Georgia. But Rocco, there's a dirty, nasty rumor going around right now that you're actually just missing qualifying for a particular reason. And that happens to be because down in Texas, they told you every time that you go to the starting line, you got to wear your pink Bambi boxer briefs. Is there any truth to this rumor?
Nah, I wish that was the only reason, but I've been making some mistakes on the first couple laps, and it throws me back there, and it's so hard to come back in the pro class. It's just, the guys are just going. I need more time, a lot more time.
And by time, are you talking experience there, or more time on the track during the race?
I usually catch up about the last lap, and I always need another lap. So on there, and more experience is the problem too.
So what's it been like for you here in this year, your first year of pro racing? Has it been a good experience for you so far?
Yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, I think I got a lot faster, and I learned a lot more riding with them guys. They're fast, and hopefully I can put it together here and get in there and race every Sunday with them.
Well, I'll tell you what, you got a LCQ coming up here in a little bit. We want to say good luck to you on that, man.
Thanks a lot.
Up next, Open A class. 16 riders vying for the top spot here, including the number 07 of Dane Heilman, who grabs the early lead in Moto number 1. But he's got company back there, including the 909 Honda rider from Croup, Texas, Caleb Moore, Justin Knopman, also back there for the number 32, the number 419 of Chase Cunningham, and the 82 of Matthew Blommel from Dade City, Florida. But they're all trying to chase down that rider right there, the number 07 of Heilman. Heilman looking back behind him right now thinking, whoa, what's going on? Where's everybody at? And you can see this racetrack really starting to roughen up there as the 32 of Norman holding on to the 2nd place position. There's the 419 of Cunningham, and some of the other riders we can expect to see here in this Open A division. including not only Heilman and Cunningham and the 82 of Blommel, but the 91 of Ricky Deering, the number 112 of Tasmanian Tommy Tantillo, the 40-plus-year-old rider out here dueling battles with these riders in this Open A class, a lot younger than him, but he is going to show that he is up to the challenge here in Georgia. Kevin Kern also out there aboard the 96, the 71 of Brian Giles, the 96 of Joey Rogers, the 571 of Corey Deason, the 26 is Ronnie Province, 42 Ryan Costello, the number 112 Derek Braun, the 67 of Jamie Majewski, and the number 27 of Mark Maloney. And that is your field of 16 riders all doing battle out here in Florida. But again, the 07 of Heilman looks to be walking away with the action here in Moto number 1. But troubles abound in Moto number 2 as Dane Heilman will actually take a Moto 1 win here in Georgia. But a 5th place finish in Moto number 2 will drop him back to an overall 3rd whenever the race day is all said and done. Justin Norman finishing 4th and 2nd. And your overall winner, the 909 of Caleb Moore, a 2-1, takes him to the top of the results board. Up next, Open B, a total of 17 riders in this one as they all try to get top honors here in Georgia. Riders, well, a lot of these riders' favorite track out here on the circuit. Early on in Moto number 1, 151, Josh Hollyfield out of Grover, North Carolina. Appears that he is going to be the rider to beat along with the 411 of Spencer Owens out of El Dorado, Kansas. Spencer making his name be known in the early parts of these races here in the Open B class at Acheconne anyway. Other riders out there include riders like the 832 of Doug Lancer, the number 1 of Shane Owens, also the 119 of Brad Caraway, the 15 of Wade Hansbrough, 808 of Zachary Reeder, the number 4 of Chris Miller, 161 of Walter Ogle, the 87 of Chris Harper, 103 Cody Ingram, number 12 of Zach Salter, the 259 of Michael Harvey, the number 0 of Brian Jenkins, 118 of Joshua Edwards, the 44 of James Perry, and the number 17 of Wesley Smith. And that's your 17 riders in Open B division. Like we said, it looks like that early on, Josh Hollyfield, the number 151, is going to be your overall winner as we see him taking a look at the cameraman over the berm there. But looks like Hollyfield will go on to win Moto number 1, but troubles off the start in Moto number 2, and he's only able to work his way up into a 3rd place position when the checker flag finally comes out, so that'll only be good enough for an overall 2nd for him. Doug Lancer, the 832, took 2nd in Moto 1, takes the win in Moto 2 to get the overall top results here in our Open B class. Moving on to the Open C class now, as 14 riders trying their hand here in this 4th round of the ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series. But early on, it's the number 718 of Zach Martin out of Middletown, Ohio, who grabs the early lead and commands Moto number 1 out there. He's got riders like Paul Cicilline, Kyle Carter, also Jason Osagai, all trying to track him down early on in the first part of this moto. Other riders out there on the track, including Bradley Goyens aboard the number 9 machine, the 75 of Andrew Bailey, the 50X of John Carter, the number 409 of Andrew Gibson, the 26 of Glenn Turner, the number 8 of Philip Gala, the 498 of Nick Eaton, the 31 of Walter Oconee, number 615 Marty Watkins, and the 24 of Joseph Howe. Like we said, 718 of Zach Martin getting out to a strong start in Moto number 1 and pretty much repeats it in Moto number 2 in Sunday's racing action. But behind him is where things get a little shaken up back there. Is the number 4 of Paul Cicilline, who took a 2nd place finish in Moto number 1, battles his way through Moto number 2 for a 3rd place finish. Rider number 119, Keel or Kyle Carter from Hanson, Kentucky, actually taking a 5th place finish in Moto number 1, rebounds back to a 2nd place finish in Moto number 2. So you can see that day 1 of racing not nearly as nice to him as what day number 2 was, but he worked his way up through and made the challenges. There we see the 615 of Marty Watkins. He's out of Brandon, Mississippi, and they're all laying chase to that rider right there, and that seems to be the story for the weekend in the Open C class, trying to chase down number 718 Zach Martin, who seems to be extremely fast here in Georgia. Getting the big air here in this novice class, but still not able to downside that double, so you can see why he's still riding in a novice class. There's the number 4 machine. You can see, look at the gap that's opened up between first and second. We were looking at our leader, Zach Martin, and then finally, the number 4 machine comes sliding into the picture. There's the 24 machine also of Joseph Howell, but here's the way it all breaks down after 2 motos of racing. It's Martin, Cicilline, and Carter, 1, 2, and 3. On to Pro Moto number 1 of this ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series. You can see the jackets are on, even in the deep south of Georgia in the early part of this racing season. There's Keith Little, a former dirt track champion, making his mark as well in motocross racing, especially out in Glen Helen a couple of races ago, actually round 1 about 3 races ago. But here we go with the drop of the gate, and we're off and rolling here in Acheconne Pro Moto number 1. Who's going to get credit for the ITP Hole Shot Award? Looks like it's going to be the number 13 of John Natale. Natale getting exactly what he needed. A good start. We've seen him do that a couple of times already this year. The big question is, will John be able to hang on to it? Let's go back and see how he did it one more time with our ITP Hole Shot replay there. As you can see, they're going to sweep it out through turn number 1. Natale just barely out front. He's got about the width of those front wheels. They give him the hole shot, but it's just enough to let him work his way into that number 1 spot and already begin to work out a little bit of a gap that's starting to open up between first and second place. Back there in the number 2 spot, the number 270 of Josh Creamer from North Stonington, Connecticut. Also the number 8 of Jason Luberg in the mix there in the top 3 or 4 riders, as well as some of the youngsters now trying to lay chase to John Natale, who's got your lead. And again, Creamer in the number 2 spot, Luberg in 3rd, Pat Brown in the number 4 spot, Tavis Kane in 5th, Corey Ellis 6th, Keith Little 7th, Doug Gust in 8th, Havistow in 9th, Dustin Wimmer in 10th, Jason Dunkelberger running 11th. It is Harold Goodman, the number 708 and 12th, 13th, Joe Berg 14th, Matt White 15th, Weenan 16th is Jeremiah Jones, Steve Runckelback at 17th, Arno in 18th, Spader 19th, and Jeremy Lawson, who won the qualifier, running back in a 20th place position here on the opening lap. And some of those big names way back in the pack right now to open things up here in this first moto, giving John Natale some big breathing room there. One of those including the number 7 of Joe Bird, who is your points leader after 3 rounds of racing, heading here into this 4th round at Acheconne in the ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series. So this could be a big relief for John Natale. If things work in his favor, he might see himself either moving into or close to moving into the number 1 spot in the points chase before this race day is all said and done. And I know that's where John Natale would like to be. And right now it looks like we are seeing the John Natale of days of old, at least from the year 2005, as he is out front, and this could spell disaster for the rest of the crew. Back in 2nd place is the number 8 of Luberg. Back in the number 3 spot now, the 199 of Pat Brown as he works his way up through. We've seen some changes already take place. Creamer dropping back. There's the 53 of Ellis, and Creamer back in the number 5 spot. We see that Tavis Kane back there doing battle aboard the number 6 machine as well, as he's trying to hold on to or get back into a top 5 spot. As we take a look at our Parts Unlimited leaderboard, it is Natale, Luberg, Brown, Ellis, and Josh Creamer rounding out your top 5. Creamer is followed now by, it looks like, Tavis Kane, Keith Little, Doug Gus back there in the 8th place position. Keep an eye out for him. He could be a force in this rough, rugged racetrack here in Georgia. These are the kind of conditions that lend themselves to the talents of the number 55 of Doug Gus, as well as Jeremiah Jones. We saw him work his way back from way back in the pack in the qualifier to take a 2nd place position. Right now he's in a 17th place position. Let's see if he can work his way up here in Florida. It's going to take a lot to catch up to John Natale at this point, as it looks like the champ has found his rhythm. And if that is the case, look out the rest of this pro field in the year 2006. The only redemption I think they might have is the talents of a rider that has not been able to put things together yet, and that's the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones, unless one of these other youngsters step up, like Luberg or possibly even Brown, who's running back in that number 3 spot. Brown finishing off very strong in the latter part of the 2005 racing season, but here in 2006, it looks like he has started well, a little rough, as he was having bike problems out in Florida, or out in California and in Florida, as did the 53 of Corey Ellis. These guys have been struggling with bad luck, it seems like. But either one of those riders, Ellis or Brown or any of these other Yamaha riders, including Travis Bader, gets things put together, they could spell maybe some challenges for your champion, John Natale, who is sitting second place in the points. He's first place on the racetrack right now, and it looks like the champ has found his group. But the battle's back in second right now. Luberg and the 199 of Pat Brown are pretty much hitched up and battling it out for that number 2 spot, and that's given Natale the opportunity to stretch things out even more, and that is what he is looking for on this cool day here in Georgia. I know that heat has been a factor in some of the other races that we've been to, at least in Florida. It was a little warmer down there, and Natale seemed to tire from the heat down there, but with the cooler temperatures here in Florida only a week later, it's starting to lend itself to John Natale's riding style. So the cooler temperatures obviously seem to be the better conditions for the champ. Luberg stretching things out in second. Still Brown back in the number 2 spot. Ellis back in the 4th place position aboard the number 53 as he is working his way up through the pack right now. It looks like he is trying to mount a challenge on his Yamaha factory teammate of Brown for that podium position finish here in Moto number 1. But we've got a ways to go before those checkers come out. We could get to see a lot of great battling. Looks like Brown having problems with those berms once again as he tries to slide that rear end around, but when he does, it kind of gets caught up in those berms. And that's what cost him some time in the qualifier earlier in Saturday's racing action, and might be what might be costing him some time here in this first moto of racing as he's trying to reel in the number 8 of Luberg and fend off the 53 of Corey Ellis right now as we are only into lap number 4. We're nearing the halfway point of this first moto of racing. This is a 20-minute plus 1 lap moto, and it should translate here with somewhere in the neighborhood of right around or just under the 2-minute lap times, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10, maybe as many as 12 laps before this race is all said and done. But there's Pat Brown. He's settled into his groove. He's still got his sights set on Luberg. Both of these guys hoping, dreaming, and wanting to reel in the number 13 of Natale. We've seen Natale with his problems already a couple of times this year, one in particular being in the opening round out in Glen Helen when the seat fell off of his Honda about midway or just past the midway point of Moto number 2, which took him from first place when he had what looked like a comfortable lead like he's got here in Florida all the way back to a 4th place finish in that second moto, which gave him a 2nd place overall finish after Bird finishing 4th and 1st out there, took the overall nod and started the ball off rolling right with the points lead, and has yet to relinquish that after the first 3 rounds of racing. But will he be able to hang on to it after the 4th round? I know Bird is trying to work his way up through the pack right now, and when we last checked in with him, he was running back in about a 12th place position. Now as we look back a little further, see Tavis Kane now feeling some pressure from what looks like to be the 270 now of Creamer, but will that be the case throughout the rest of this motos? They head through the mechanics area, get in the pit board, catch him, and here comes Pat Brown now. Brown is starting to challenge Luberg. We could see a battle for second. Meanwhile, he's being pushed by his Yamaha teammate of Corey Ellis back there. Both those guys running those ITP tires, hooking up tight here in the sands of Georgia now and putting the pressure on Luberg. We're seeing a 3-way battle begin to develop for this 2nd place position, and if Luberg is not careful, he could find himself from 2nd to a 4th place position in the blink of an eye, especially if he opens the door for one rider. The other rider's going to try to sneak under, and look at this. It may not be much of a reason for these riders to have to try to sneak by. All they got to do is wait for that machine to blow, because we're beginning to see some smoke or steam come from the number 8 of Jason Luberg, and what a tough break for him. Maybe that's the reason Luberg was beginning to slow his pace down just a little bit, allowing the opportunity for the 199 of Brown to reel him back in and look like start to mount a challenge. But Luberg is holding on as much and as hard as he can right now to try to hang on to that 2nd place position. Ellis still back and forth. Kane has moved back into a 5th place position. Doug Gus has worked up into 6th. Havistow in 7th. Wimmer 8th. Harold Goodman in 9th. And now Joe Bird has worked into a 10th place position. So Bird now is a part of the top 10. But all eyes are on this battle up front for 2nd place position, wondering how long is Jason Luberg's machine going to be able to hold on. Is it steam? And is it going to overheat? And how long is it going to take for that to happen? I know that the guys in the pits there are pretty worried for that number 8 machine. Meanwhile, I'm sure that Pat Brown and Corey Ellis are getting the pit board saying, don't push it. It's going to come to you. It will only take time. So they're going to sit back and see what happens with that number 8. Meanwhile, John Natale is going to continue to stretch things out here, and he's looking at several seconds of a gap between himself and second place. Let's say, I think at this point in the race, we're about 7 seconds, maybe 8 seconds between first and second place, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. If Natale wicks it up here in the latter part of this moto, could become even a wider gap than that. But we've seen Natale tire already in this 2006 racing season. Is that what's going to be the case here in this first moto? The temperatures were a little warmer when we seen Natale tiring only a week ago, and we've seen it happen a couple of times to Natale. Even in Texas, he was having some problems. A little cooler there, but again, you know, he got things worked out, and it seems like he's got them really dialed in here. Look at this. Here comes Ellis now, still on the back wheels of Pat Brown, but he gets around, and now Brown is watching this one all unfold from back there, and he is challenging the number 8 of Luberg. But look at this, Luberg is not smoking nearly as much. Maybe it was a broken water line. Maybe it's ran out of water. No, there's the steam coming back out of it again, or smoke. Whatever it is, Corey Ellis is going to try to take advantage of it. You know, it's going to be playing some middle games on the number 8 of Luberg, because he's thinking that his machine is not as strong as it could or should be at this point. And you know, he's got to second guess himself, I'm sure, as he heads over some of those jumps, hoping that that machine does not seize or stall out heading over a jump and causing him to crash. Meanwhile, Corey Ellis is able to make the pass. Luberg will drop off the third. Now Pat Brown must wait his time here and bide his time and try to make the pass. Look at this. Looks like we got a Suzuki pilot now sneaking up on the back wheels of the 199 of Brown. Is that Digger Doug Gus working his way up through the pack? We'll check back there in just a few moments, though. We check out this lead that John Natale has established. Look at that, all the way back to second. Now Ellis, who is moving at a little bit faster pace than what Luberg was, might be able to reel in the champ now. And if that's the case, we might see a battle start to develop. Oh, there goes Luberg. He's not sure if that was the machine's fault or his fault on a timing factor there, but Luberg will lose more time there, and Pat Brown not able to capitalize. And that's not even Pat Brown now. That's the 55 of Gus that has moved into second now, into fourth, now into a third place position as he gets around the number 8 of Jason Luberg. Digger Doug Gus is on the move in a third place position. At the early part of this race, he was running back in a 10th place spot, and now has moved all the way up to third. Gus could be a factor for the overall here in moto number 1 if he can reel in the number 13 of Natale. We can see the gap back from first to second, and not much of a gap now between second and third of Gus and Ellis. Will Gus be able to reel in Ellis, and at the pace he's moving, will he be able to reel in the 13 of John Natale as the moto wears on? That might be the only thing working against Doug Gus, and that is time here in Moto 1 of round number 4 of the ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series. Gus on the way up front. Meanwhile, the battle for fourth place between Brown and Kane, the 199 and the number 6 machinist. We're seeing things really heat up back there. It looks like Brown, who was a contender for the number 1 spot, is finding himself falling back farther and farther and farther as Kane now makes the pass into a 4th place position. Natale, who was being threatened by him early in the moto, feels no pressure from anyone, at least at this point. Through the mechanics area, he goes now. Here comes Ellis now aboard the number 53 machine. Again, Ellis, another rider that has been plagued with bad luck in the early part of this season. A rider that has made bad luck to good luck. The 55 of Digger Doug Gus, as he is, sometimes he gets a good start, sometimes he doesn't. Got a mid-pack start that time around and is now up to third. Look at this, Joe Bird, who was back about 12th to 14th, moved up to 10th, has now passed into an 8th place position, and this is going to better his chances whenever the overalls are backed out at the end of Moto 2 if he can score a better finish in that second moto. But again, this race is not over. Joe Bird could find himself possibly up to a top 5 position before it's said and done here today, as we've already seen a lot of wild things take place. We've seen Jason Luberg, who was a really strong front runner there in the early part of the moto, faded back at what looked like to be due to bike problems as the steam or the smoke was coming from that machine. And there he is again. Luberg has fallen even further back, and it looks like the machine is giving him even more problems than it was earlier. So Luberg, who was could have been riding on a great boost of confidence with a strong finish here in this first moto in this 4th round of racing, may be finding himself behind the 8 ball, and it's going to be tough to get those spirits lifted up to come out here in this second moto and try to prove to himself and the rest of the world that, hey, he deserves to be out there battling up front. But when you have problems like this take place, it's tough to overcome those. It becomes a mental game as much as a physical game as the day wears on. Speaking of physical games, check out the physicalness that these riders are being put through, the challenge, the torture that they're being put through out here as this track is roughening up. As this moto wears on, we're seeing braking bumps and acceleration bumps, and we're seeing lots of ruts begin to develop out there. And each one of those ruts has their own braking and acceleration bumps, and it makes it rougher and rougher. It has got to be very demanding on these riders and their overall endurance here. And the tally, you can see, though he's still out front, maybe beginning to tire just a little bit, even here in the cooler temperatures of Florida. Meanwhile, Digger Doug Gust, who comes from the cool state of Wisconsin, I'm sure it was probably snowing before he even left to come down south for this race here in Georgia, is now battling in what would be a lot warmer conditions than what he's used to, but it doesn't seem to matter what the conditions. Doug Gust does exactly what his nickname spells out there. Digger Doug, he digs way deep to find every ounce of energy he has, pull him up to the front of the pack regardless of what his start's like. And look at this, he's going side by side with Ellis now, trying to challenge for the second place position, and Gus now from 10th to a second place position here in moto number 1, as he has now got his sights set on the gap between himself and the number 13 of John Natale. Will he be able to close it up? I'm sure that at this point Gus is thinking, okay, I've gotten into second place, I battled from way back, maybe it might be a good idea just to hold off Corey Ellis at this particular point and go for the win in moto number 2, because that gap is so huge right now, and moto number 2 is where it's going to count most. So if Gus can come out and get a good strong start in that second moto and lead John Natale, then you know how the math works here in motocross. Best finish in the second moto always breaks any and all ties, so this might be a good strategy that Gus might be trying to think about out there on the race course right now. As we check back third, it's still Corey Ellis aboard the number 53, but what a charge by Digger Doug Gust. This guy has got it going on. He's trying to reel in John Natale. Speaking of Gus, we talked with him before the race, see what his mindset was as we headed into this 4th round of racing.
No, this is more my kind of track here. I like the rough stuff. The rougher the better for me. Well, it's a sandy course, you know, and sand just keeps getting whooped out bigger and bigger. And as time goes on, the bumps just get bigger and bigger, and that's what I like. And I know my Suzuki Yoshimura LTR 450 will work real good in that kind of stuff.
And Gust has been working real good through that stuff on that 450, as he is all the way up to a second place position after working his way through some very fast riders behind him. Some of them trying to catch onto the rear wheels there and work their way up through the pack with him. Still back in the number 3 spot, though, is Corey Ellis aboard the number 53. Tavis Kane up to 4th now. Joe Havistow up to a 5th place position aboard the number 75. He's working his way up. Look at that. Number 7, Joe Bird, up to a 7th place position. But they're all laying chase to the number 13 of John Natale right now, as he continues to open up a massive lead here in Georgia. Now again, late in the moto, looks like Natale may be slowing down a little bit, and this could be a saving grace for the 55 of Digger Doug Gust, as he might be able to close the gap up and challenge John Natale here late in this first moto of racing, and that would really set the stage for a great battle in the second moto. There we see some of those inside-outside turns. Some of the berms have been worked up on the inside to give pretty much the same effect you have on the outside as you do have on the inside, and slow those guys down a little bit so the inside's not such a great advantage there. Maybe open up some passing opportunities from the outside for some of these other riders. And we've seen that, well, obviously Digger Doug Gust has been able to use it, and several other folks, including Joe Bird back there, who's working his way up through the pack. As we said, about 12th, 13th, 14th, start to race out, up to 12th, then the 10th, then the 7th, and he is on his way up to the front of the pack right now. If Joe Bird has anything to say about the way this Moto 1 is going to finish up, he is going to be in the top 5, if not a little better than that. He is going to try his best, I'm sure. Natale looking back behind him to see exactly who is back there now, as he knows there's been some major battles that have heated up behind him. But with 1 lap to go, John Natale, enough of a gap here on this last lap of racing in Moto number 1 that Natale should be able to carry this one all the way home to the checkers and the win, as he gets a thumbs up through the pit area there, mechanics area, as we see Digger Doug Gust still holding on the second. Look at the gap between himself and 3rd place, as Corey Ellis not even coming into the picture yet aboard that number 53 Yamaha. Natale working his way on the backside of the race course and inching his way that much closer to the finish line and those checkers and the conclusion of this first moto of racing, which is going to set him in the driver's seat as far as this racing weekend is concerned. Big question is he going to be able to do it 2 motos in a row? Well, right now we're almost halfway home to finding out the answer to that question as John Natale rounds the last few turns. He's going to see those checkers fly, and Natale will take Moto 1 win here in Georgia, much to the crowd's delight. As you can see, they're lined up against the fences there. And here's one of the reasons they call John Natale the people's champ. Look at that. He is taking the time to high-five each and every one of these fans down the fence line here at Acheconne. It's guys like that right there that become fan favorites real fast. We take a look at our Moose Racing Pro Moto 1 results. Natale, Gus, Ellis, Bird all the way up to 4th. Joe Havistow in 5th. A good ride for that youngster. Then it's Kane, Wimmer, Goodman, Little, and Brown.
You know, the bike was just working phenomenal. The Elka shocks were working. We got new tire balls into Maxxis tires. Everything was just working great together. And, you know, I think we found some secrets here that keep me from getting near as tired. So, you know, I think we're ready to go for the second moto. We'll come out strong and hopefully do a 1-1 this weekend.
A little tired. My start wasn't all that great, really. I got a bad jump, but I ended up going to the inside of the turn, sneaking in there, coming out top 5. Rode real strong. Just never really gave up, even though I was dying out there. But just haven't got to ride very much lately since Texas, so I'm a little out of shape right now. Got a little hurt last race, so looking good. Just got to go out and put another strong moto and just not give up.
Up next, 4-stroke A-Class here at Acheconne. Round 4 of the ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series presented by Parts Unlimited. Gates drop on division number 1. Keep an eye out for the number 111. It's a Honda ridden by Nate Morello out of Peterborough, New Hampshire. He grabs the early lead, and he is not going to look back from this point on. He's got company back there, though, and that does include that number 64 machine, and that is Bryant Rister from El Dorado, Illinois, who will go on to take a 3rd place finish in this division race. Second division getting set to roll off the starting line, and some of the riders are going to keep an eye out for in that one's going to be the number 66 of Russell Shoemaker out of Bristol, Wisconsin, as the gate is down on that one. Also, Aaron Meyer aboard the number 74. There's the number 69 of Travis Moore from McKenzie, Tennessee, getting off to a good, strong start. Some riders left back in the dust. As you can see, as the race day wears on, this track is beginning to whoop out and get rougher and rougher and rougher. And these riders are meeting more and more challenge with each and every race that they come out and face on the sands of Acheconne here in Lozella, Georgia. Riders that we're looking at out here in the 4-stroke A-Class include, like the rider of 111 of Nate Morello, also the 74 of Aaron Meyer, the 66 of Russell Shoemaker, Abraham Straney aboard the 34, James Silfees aboard the 39, 222 of Kyle Goldberg, the 80 of Jeffrey Thompson, 64 of Bryant Rister, 69 of Travis Moore, 49 of Matthew Weenan, 202 of Christopher Tate, the 00 of Walter Bond, number 6 Corey Funk, the number 4 of Cody Brown, the 49 slash of Michael Brown, 97 of Eric Wenzel, the 557 of Adam Warren, the 84 of Thomas Brown, the 871 of Jason Dutch, and the number 17 of Matt Contras. Those top 20 riders made it into the second moto, and when it was all said and done, believe it or not, the 111 of Nate Morello, who is showing such strong riding in moto number 1, will come up short in moto number 2, find himself with some problems out there, and end up finishing a 6th place finish after winning his division heat race in the first moto. That'll give him a good enough score for an overall 3rd, but the rider that really shows the command and control out there is the number 66 machine, the Suzuki pilot of Russell Shoemaker. It's Shoemaker, Meyer, Morello, Straney, and Silfees rounding out the top 5. Four-stroke B-Class up next as we narrow it down once again to the top 20. Couple of different divisions here. In division number 1, it's that number 51 of Matthew Butler out of Virginia, snagging the early lead. He's got company, though, there in the early goings by the 112 of Kyle Eaton, who will not finish that first moto up in the top 8 at least in his division race, and will not even be a factor in the LCQ as he doesn't show up in moto number 2. But all the way through this first moto, keep an eye out on the number 112 machine, as he's going to be a little bit of a factor for the 51 of Butler. Also, we have another class of division there. Mark Winchester, number 87, along with the number 6 of Chris Bowman, and some of these other riders back there slicing and dicing it out in Division number 2. Some of the riders that we see include Matt Bremer aboard the number 111 Factory Matt. Also, we have the number 6 machine of Chris Bowman, the 87 of Mark Winchester, 919 of Ricky Stair, the 50 of Jonathan Davidson, the 88 of Paul Nemec, the 81 of Melvin Jeffords, the 16 of Sean Collisher, the number 1 of Shane Owens, the 8/ of Michael Jancy, 54 of Robert Parnell, the 125 Johnny Jackson, the number 8 of Mark Roy. From Argentina, Hernan Di Mayo aboard the number 36, Travis Miller aboard the 151, Michael Harvey aboard the 259, 514 Justin Matheny, 351 Ryan Mathias, 49 of Christopher Hawkins, and the 152 of Joshua Michael out there. As you can see, still the 51 of Matthew Butler out front, big challenge by that number 112 machine of Kyle Eaton out of Webster, Florida. But when it's all said and done and the smoke all settles here in Florida, or should I say the sand all settles here in Florida, Matthew Bremer, the number 111, ends up walking away with the win, a 2-2, finishing second at both motos. Then Butler, Bowman, and Mark Winchester, and then Ricky Stair rounding out the top 5. Four-stroke C up next, and 15 riders vying for top honors here in the sands of Georgia for round number 4. Class number 12, gate is down, and early on, riders to keep an eye out for, including the 166 of Leonardo Canziani, also the number 10 of Eric Cornier, the number 39 of Brent Henneman, and the 35 of John Sayer, just to name a few, and including the number 11 of Sergio Valpado from Argentina. Valpado getting off to a great start here, as he will finish when this one's all said and done aboard that number 11, 11th place. But he shows that he can grab some early hole shots here in the great United States, all the way from Argentina. Glad to have him here with us here this weekend. Quickly, though, Eric Cornier, the number 10 machine from Marlton, New Jersey, is able to work his way into the number 1 spot. He will take a Moto 1 win, come back in the second moto, and finish up in a second-place position. But he will actually still take the overall win, as Brent Henneman, the number 39 machine, who actually wins second moto, will finish 6th in the first moto of racing here today, and that's what's going to rocket Cornoyer up into the overall results when it's all said and done. John Sayer, the number 35 machine out there, out of Fairfield, Ohio, will take a 3rd place finish in Moto 1 and a 4th place finish there in that second moto, so he runs pretty consistent. Leonardo Canziani, a 2nd place finish aboard the number 166 in Moto number 1, backs it up with a 6th place finish there in that second moto. And then this is the way the overall results are. Again, it's Eric Cornoyer, Henneman, Sayer, Canziana, and Jason Goddard rounding out the top 5 with a 4-8. Production A up next, and again, we narrow it down to the top 20, so we got a couple of different divisions. Division number 1, the 122 of Dustin Royer from Louisville, Ohio, opens up with the early lead. He's going to be battling with the 74 of Aaron Meyer out there here in this first moto of racing action. As well as we look back there in that second division, Casey Martin aboard the number 75, getting off to a strong start. But the one to beat here is going to be the 328 of Nathan Comer, as they try to get it all sorted out through these first few turns of racing. We can see Martin out front aboard the number 75. He's from Frenchburg, Kentucky. Back there behind him also the 111 of Nate Morello out of Peterborough, New Hampshire. As actually Nate struggling a little bit here in the production A class. He's got his work cut out for him here in the early part of moto number 1. Other riders out there, as we said, 328 of Nathan Comer, 75 Casey Martin, 74 Aaron Meyer, 122 Dustin Royer, 111 Nate Morello, 66 of Russell Shoemaker, 37 of Darren Capatina, 99 Derek Betzmeyer, 61 of Donnie Miller, the 81 of Cody Grant, the 39 James Silvies, 357 of Hunter Johnson, the number 10 of Greg G, number 217 David Bonstock, the number 28 of Joseph Bruning, the 718 of Caleb Moore, the 44 of Brian Holverson, the number 80 of Jeffrey Thompson, the 188 of Chris Williamson, and actually that's Chris Williamson, then the 701 of Houston Lauder. When the smoke all settles here in Georgia, Nathan Comer appears to be the man to beat aboard the number 328, as he does take a Moto 1 win in his division race. And when it's all said and done in the second moto, he's able to come out and also be the master commander, at least whenever the checker flag flies. So Comer will walk away from this weekend with a 1-1. Martin with a 2-2 will get the overall second. Then it's Meyer with a 1-3, Dustin Royer with a 2-5 for fourth, and Nate Morello rounding out the top 5 with a 4-4. Production B up next as we narrow it down once again to the top 20 riders out here in this Saturday racing action. Division 1 and Division 2. It's Matthew Brimmer aboard the number 111 from Palm Bay, Florida, grabbing the early lead in his division race. Other riders out there include riders like that rider, the number 51 of Matthew Butler, who took a second place finish in division number 2. Other riders that we see in both divisions include the number 6 of Chris Bowen, the 111 of Matthew Brimmer, the 5 of Michael Carnival, the number 87 of Mark Winchester, 151 of Andrew Travis, the 51 of Matthew Butler, 337 Jeff Urich, the 77 of William Smith III, the 13 of Ross D'Antonio, the 724 of Derek Rossi, the 14 / of Marcus Serpani, the number 14 of William Cottage, the 88 of Jerry Valentine, the 18 of Ryan Collins, Nicholas Carter aboard the number 58, the 81 of Melvin Jeffords, the 11 / of Evan Vandevander, the number 7 of Josh Bateman, and the 71 of Andrew Morse. Early on in Moto number 1, we've seen good results from Chris Bowman, Matthew Brimmer, Michael Carnival, who actually finished well in the overall top 3 when it's all said and done. But one rider who finished a 3rd in his division race, the 81 of Melvin Jeffords, the 3rd, took a 19th place finish in the second moto, which dropped him way back in the pack to like a 16th place overall. William Cottage also doing a great run in Moto number 1 in his division race with a 4th place finish, finished 16th in Moto 2 to take a 12th place overall position. But up front, as the battling continues, in Moto 1 and Moto 2, Chris Bowen, actually out of Land O'Lakes, Florida, takes a Moto 1 win in his division race and a Moto 2 win to cap off the weekend with the overall with a 1-1. Then back in second place was the 111 of Matthew Brimmer. Brimmer actually finishing second in his division race in Moto number 1, was able to finish in a 3rd place position in the second moto and still cap off a 2nd overall. Then Mark Carnival, who finished 1st in his division race, took a 4th in the second moto for a 3rd overall. Up next, Production C, as we have, again, more than 20 riders that are vying for the only 20 positions on the starting gate. So we got a couple of different divisions here. As we start things out here, the number 19 of Stephen Shink grabbing the early lead of Elburn, Illinois. Is going to be the man to beat in that first division. Other riders back there in the second division, including the 191 of Lonnie Bergeron, and the many other riders out on the track with him that day. John Sayer aboard the number 35 machine, the 22 of Matt Acheconne, the 14 of Andrew Krasinski, the 52 of Joel Johnson, the 117 Mike Jackson, 39 Brent Henneman, 141 of Chad Bumgarner, the 46 of Brent Terrell, 23 Jason Demick, the 130 of Clay Lakowski, 32 Jason Goddard, 13 Brandon Welp, the 131 of Ronald Michael, 44 of TJ Peterson, 34 is Jacob Parsons, 37 Andrew Pentoski, the number 20 of Tyler Lowe, and the number 166 of Leonardo Conziani. As we take a look at the way Moto 1 results break down, Brett Terrell actually taking a third-place finish in his division race. It's a 12th-place finish in Moto number 2. Get an overall 10th place when the race day is all said and done. Number 20 of Tyler Lowe, who also has a good strong run in his division race, finishing 4th. DNS'd in Moto number 2, which means he did not start. So it was all left to settle out between the rest of these fields you see out here. Tough break there for that number, what looks like, what is that, a 99 machine? Or is that the 39 of Brent Henneman from McKinney, Texas? I know Henneman finds himself with a 9th and a 6th place finish, and that'll put him good enough for a 8th place overall. But it's Bergeron taking the win, Schink in 2nd, Sayer in 3rd, Acheconne back in 4th, and Brzezinski rounds out your top 5 for Production C. Another one of the popular classes amongst the youngsters here, the 16 to 24, what some deem as the college boy class. As the gate drops in Moto 1, again, a couple of different divisions trying to get it all sorted out here, including riders like the 188 of Chris Williams, the 32 of Justin Norman, the 69 of Travis Moore, the 123 of Nick DeNoble, the number 4 of Cody Brown. Also riders out there like the number 2 of Joe Havel, the 84 of Thomas Brown, the 313 of Michael Lahote, the 324 of Brian Reese, 151 of Josh Hollyfield, the number 23 of James McNall, the 25 of Eric DeNoble, 64 slash of Kyle DeMann, the number 14 of Andrew Krasinski, the 724 of Derek Rozick, the 404 of Taylor Condacure, the 919 of Ricky Stair, and the number 13 of Thomas Mofford. Just to name a few of those riders out there. In Moto number 1 divisions, it looked like Chris Williams took a division win, as did the number 69 of Travis Moore, but out in that second Moto, it was Justin Norman, the number 32, who was able to come away with the win in Moto number 2. But the law of averages, and when it all breaks down, I guess you could say Chris Williams, who scored a 1-2 with a second place finish in that second Moto, will actually get credit with the overall win. Justin Norman finished a 3-1 for an overall second. Travis Moore a 1-3 for an overall third. Then we start to see some inconsistencies there as the 123 of Eric DeNoble finishing 2nd, 4th for a 4th. The number 4 of Cody Brown actually rounded out the top 5 with a 2-6 there. And then Joe Havel, the number 2, finished 4th, finished a 5th in the second Moto to round out your overall top 6. So that's the way at least our top 6 broke down here in our 16 to 24-year-old class. One other note here for you, finishing 17th overall, it's going to be Ricky Stair aboard the number 919 from Harmony, Pennsylvania. He finished 5th in Moto number 1, but problems arise and he DNS'd or did not start in Moto number 2. So our overall results is Williams, Norman, Moore, DeNoble, and Brown 1st through 5th. Plus 25 class up next, riders 25 years of age and older. And as we head down to the starting line, we've got a total of 14 riders in this one. Early on in Moto number 1, it looks like a pretty hard-fought battle, but the number 07 of Dane Heilman is going to work his way into the number 1 spot. We saw him out front in the earlier racing here at Acheconne. He's out of Richland, Indiana. He'll take a Moto 1 win. He's got company out there, though, out of riders like the 79 of Daniel Schneider, the 64 of Josh Starrett, the 61 of John Staskouselis, also Lane Coyle aboard the 33, Marty Copeland aboard the 234, Chase Cunningham, the 419, Matthew Andrew aboard the number 19, the 08 of Jason Ostagai, the 88 of Big Daddy Stan Digby, the 77 of Ryan Vaughn, also the 24 of Casey Kay, the 85 of Paul Gregg, and the number 3 machine of Tracy Stanford out of North Carolina. And again, there in moto number 1, it is the 07 of Heilman, but Staskousalis, the number 61, Yamaha rider from Phillipston, Massachusetts, trying to make his marks in that first moto racing action. And actually doesn't do quite well as he does in the second moto. Moto 1, he ends up dropping all the way back to an 8th place position. Meanwhile, Josh Starrett, the number 64 Yamaha you see there out of Scottsville, Kentucky, takes a 4th place finish in Moto 1, a 3rd in the second moto for an overall 3rd. But it's Heilman, Snyder, Starrett, Stakusalis, and Lane Coyle rounding out your top 5. Moving up in the age ranks now to our vet class, the 30-plus division. 20 riders signed up for this one for the 20 positions on the gate. Early on in moto number 1, we see a battle start to shape up as the number 15 of Richard Slayton, the Honda rider from Mansfield, Texas, is able to establish himself as the leader. He's got company back there, though. Brad Scout, the 747, also running very strong in both Moto 1 and Moto 2. Other riders out there on the track trying to get it all sorted out include the 96 of Kevin Kern, 71 of Brian Giles, the number 13 of Henry Lindley, the number 0 of Brian Jenkins, the 26 of Ronnie Province, the 19 of Matthew Andrew, 131 of Robert Cagle, the 11 slash of Robert Carwile, 112 Kyle Eaton, the 118 of Joshua Edwards, 51 of Seth Fliggy. Then you have Justin Reeves aboard the 51 slash, the 113 of Robert Perkins, the 25 of Michael Spiegel, 65 Brett Jones, 218 Shane Shannon, the 49 of Christopher Hawkins, and the 33 of Lane Coyle, who DNS'd in moto number 1, but rebounds back to a 4th place finish in the second moto. He'll still get an overall 20th place finish, but still redeems himself in that second moto. Slayton and Skelton run consistent in moto 1 and 2, the number 15 and the 747. As we see the battling going on here now, is Slayton trying to get around some traffic out there. And Slayton may be the rider that he's working on, but when the checkers finally fly, is Slayton taking the Moto 1 win and a Moto 2 win. 747 of Brad Skelton out of St. George, South Carolina, takes a 2nd in the first moto and a 2nd in the second moto for the overall 2nd. Then things start to get jumbled up a little bit. Kevin Kern a 5.3 for 3rd, Brian Giles a 3.5 for 4th, and Henry Lindley a 4.6 for the overall 5th place position. Moving up the ladder next to the senior 40-plus class riders. 7 riders in this division as the gate drops. The one to watch, the 112 of Tasmanian Tommy Tantillo. We see him not only in this 40-plus class, but he's also a contender in the Open A class. And as we look out here in the 40-plus class, he gets the early jump on the rest of the field out there. That number 47 of Carlos Sobines out of Miramar, Florida, running in the second-place position to open up this first moto of racing. Other riders including JPMX himself, James Perry from Adolphus, Kentucky, aboard the 44, the 122 of Billy Salter out of Beachville, Alabama, the 11 of Anthony Capano out of Waldorf, Maryland, the 47, like we said, of Carlos Sobines from Miramar, Florida, 724 of Terry Whitfield, he's out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, and the 59 of Mark Barnett from Woodville, Mississippi. That's your 7 riders. And whenever it all breaks down, it looks like consistency will pay off for Tommy Tantillo, as they call him Tasmanian Tommy, as this guy is a mad terror out there on the racetrack, whether he's in the 40-plus class or an Open A class out there. James Perry will hold on to a 2-2 to take the overall second on the day, and then we start to see things get a little bit sorted out or discombobulated a little bit, I guess you could say. The 122 of Billy Salter takes a 4-3, a 4th-place finish in Moto 1, but comes back for a 3rd-place finish in the second Moto for the overall 3rd-place position. As the number 11 we see there of Anthony Capano, who is battling it out with Salter, and also Sobines at one point in these motos out there, ends up taking an overall 4th with a 34. And then rounding out your top 5 was Sobines, the 47, gotten off to a really strong start in the first moto, a 2nd place to start things out. He'll drop all the way back to a 5th place position, which is exactly where he finishes in moto number 2. Law of averages gives him the overall 5th place position. Then Terry Whitefield, the number 724 and 6th overall. Mark Barnett rounding out the 7. On to the women's production next here at Acheconne. And this class, a lot of folks might deem as your professional women's ATV motocross race. As the gate drops on this one, we see a battle starting to shape up out front. Grabbing the early lead is the number 2 of Angela Butler out of Laveen, Arizona. She's going to be tough to beat out here. I know she and Bird, the number 1, who has opened up in a 2nd place position, normally get out front and do battle, but generally Bird gets the whole shot, and it's Butler trying to play catch-up, but not today. It is Butler out front, and Bird is trying to play catch-up. Will she be able to track her down and make the pass? Other riders out there on the race course with these women's production class riders include the number 25 Yamaha pilot of Jamie Luberg, the younger sister of Jason Luberg, the number 23 of Jamie Rentz, and also all the way from Port Orange, Florida, the number 236 of Alex Kirchner. And Kirchner is showing some speed here in the first few rounds of racing in the 2006 ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series. So right now, it's tough for her to reel in these front runners, including the number 2 of Moore out front. Actually, that used to be Moore. That's Angela Butler out front, and she got married in the offseason, so she changed her name, obviously, to Butler. But Bird ends up in a 2nd overall. She takes a 2-2 behind Butler's 1-1. Luberg a 4-3 for 3rd overall. As we move to our women's sport class, it's up next, and believe it or not, 14 lady riders in our women's sport classes. The gate drops on this one, and we're going to get to see a great battle shaping up here with Candace Lee and Adrian Cooper. Cooper, all the way from Simi Valley, California, has dedicated herself to this 2006 ITV Moose Racing season. Starting off in moto number 1, it is Candace Lee out front, but she and Cooper will move on to do some great battle in this first moto of racing of the women's sport division. Other riders out there include Brianne Stout, Michelle Sakuki, also Stout out there, by the way, aboard the numbers 171, Sakuki aboard the number 5 machine, the 141 of Chelsea Maddle, the number 11 is Leslie Reagan, the number 303 of Chastity Neese, the 13 of Jessica Dotery. Also out there on the race course includes the 04 of Vicky Eaton, the 832 of Kelly Lanzer, the number 3 of Caitlin D'Antonio, the number 36 of Melissa Walker, the 41 of Brooke Perry, and the 214 of Brittany Dyer, though Dyer having her problems in moto number 1, DNFs, and did not even start the 2nd moto, so tough break for her. There we see Lancer making her way around the course now aboard the number 832. When the smoke all settles and dust clears here at Acheconne, though, it becomes a battle between Candace Lee, who'll take a second moto win to take the overall when it's all said and done. Adrian Cooper actually took a Moto 1 win, but dropped all the way to a 4th place finish in the second moto, but was still good enough for the overall second here in this day of racing at Acheconne at round number 4 of this 2006 racing season. There we see the 141 of Chelsea Mantle from Kathleen, Florida, actually taking an 8th place finish in Moto 1. Was doing a little better than that, but it's things like that that happen to drop you back through the pack. She took a 2nd place finish in the second moto, and that skyrocketed her up to a 5th place overall position. There we see, I think, Breanne Stout making her way by aboard the 171. Actually, no, that's the 41 machine, and that was Brooke Perry out of Adolphus, Kentucky. But it's Candace Lee, Adrian Cooper, Breanne Stout in 3rd, Michelle Suki in 4th, and Chelsea Mantle rounded out your top 5. Moving on next to the 4-stroke stock production class, a stock production class, which basically means the machine that you buy off the floor is the one that you're racing out here on the race course at the racetrack. And as we open things up, looks like the 557 of Adam Warren from Burlington, Wisconsin will grab an early lead here in Moto number 1, though there's not a lot of riders in this particular division. Got an ATK out there, the number 42 of Ryan Costello out of Newhall, Iowa. Also the number 064 of John Dantimo, actually. He's riding a Suzuki from Cartersville, Georgia. The number 5 Suzuki of Jeremy Bertoldi is out of Conway, Missouri. And like we said, the 557 Suzuki rider, Adam Warren, out of Burlington, Wisconsin. Now, Warren will take Moto number 1 win, but for some reason, something happening out there on the race course, and I think that it might have been a stock issue, maybe changing something that he shouldn't have changed. There are a few things that you're allotted to change out there on this bike to make it race ready, but I think he inadvertently might have changed more than he should have changed out there. So Adam Warren actually taking a win in Moto number 1 gets disqualified in Moto number 2. And that takes him out of the running for the overall position. But as the race day winds down, you see that number 42 ATK rider out of Newhall, Iowa, Ryan Costello, actually takes a 2-2 to win the overall in the 4-stroke stock production class here at Acheconne. The number 064 Suzuki pilot of John Dantimo from Cartersville, Georgia, actually taking a 4th place finish in Moto number 1, takes a 3rd place finish in the second moto, is going to be good enough for him to take an overall 2nd place position. In the 3rd place position overall would be the number 5 of Jeremy Bertoldi out of Conway, Missouri, as he takes a 3-4 to round them all out. Racing will continue here in just a moment, but right now let's take a look at our Motorsport Hot Product of the Week.
Hi, I'm Josh Uppelman with Team Motorsport Honda. This week's Motorsport Hot Product of the Week features the Alloy Armor Light. The Alloy Armor Light is a lightweight, breathable under jersey protector. Armor Light was designed for riders who don't want any restrictions when they ride. Comfortable and cool, and fits like a second skin, and also great for roost when you're out on the track. And right now at motorsport.com you can find the Alloy Armor Light under jersey protector and all alloy gear at unbelievable blowout prices. And that's this week's Motorsport Hot Product of the Week.
Be sure and log on to motorsport.com. Right now we move on with the racing action. It's youth production 13 to 15, and again, division racing as we have to qualify down to the top 20 riders in each class. As we drop the gate on our first division, but several guys are going to be keeping an eye on, one including the 5/ of Richard Lindsay out of Atco, New Jersey. He's going to be one to watch out for throughout the entire weekend of racing here as far as the youth production 13 to 15-year-old class is concerned. Other riders out there, including in division number 2, Neil McGrath. Neil McGrath, the number 30, is going to get off to a great start in his division race. But we've got other riders out there, including the number 98 of Daniel Cooper, the 83 of Robert Mazie, the 15 of Bo Brinkley, rather. Number 220 is Charlie McVeigh, the 43 of Yasmin Adams, the 24 of Nico DeBonzo, number 85 Zachary Strong, the number 11 will be Adam Blackburn, number 2 Curtis Byers, number 87 Austin Moore, the 155 of Sean Weibelt, number 55 Jay Corey, the 103 of Edward Lahote, the 33 of Kendall Webb, number 61 of David Terrell, the 191 of Eddie Edmondson, the 414 of Ryan Anderson, also the number 5 of Josh West. And that is rounding out your field of 20 riders in our youth production, 13 to 15. Richard Lindsay goes on for a 1-1 aboard the 5/. Neil McGrath out of Bradenton, Florida, winning his division race in Moto number 1, will come up with a second place finish in the second moto for an overall second on the race day itself. But that rider right there, Richard Lindsay from New Jersey, obviously the man to beat. It seems like that East Coast, the state of New Jersey seems to be producing a lot of fast riders out of Pat Brown and even Travis Spader and several other folks. But here's the way it all breaks down. Youth production results: Lindsay, McGrath, Cooper, Maisie, and Brinkley rounding out the top 5. '90 production senior, this class 12 to 15 years of age, and another tightly contested one. And not only do we have the guys out there, but we also got a few young ladies that seem to be bringing and throwing their hat into the ring as far as this racing is concerned, which is good hopes for that women's sport class and women's production class. In Moto number 1, Jeff Rastrelli aboard the number 28 machine from Palm City, Florida, taking a Moto 1 win in his division race. And back there in the second division, number 23 of Christopher Ham out of Inglewood, Florida, will take a division win. Now, it looks like Christopher Ham having problems in the second moto as he backs up that first moto win with an 8th place finish there in the second moto. So, you know that that was not the best results for him, but it was good enough for an overall 4th place finish on the race day. Other riders including Jeffrey Rastrelli, like we said, the 28, the 68 of Christy Loreen, the 199 of Alexander Nickerson, the 77 of Nicholas Moser, the 7 of Brittany Snyder, the 22 of Austin Vegan, the number 93 of Brett Mara, 696 of Cody Tittle, 171 of Jordan Davidovich, the 281 of Kelsey Loreen, the 321 of Alex Kersey, the 15 of Jennifer Dearmar, the 113 of Duncan Ingram, the number 1 of Justin Lunsford, number 57 of Dalton Gentry, that's the son of Rodney Gentry, the 128 of Grant Darnell, the number 13 of Jesse Ingram, the 17 of Jamin Davidovich, and the number 10 of Kelsey Dyer. Those were your top 20 as far as the weekend was concerned. And looks like Christy Loreen will actually get second place honors. And check this out, she got a second place finish in her division race. But when the second moto came around, she took a 5th place finish, but still good enough for an overall second. Nickerson a 2.7 for 3rd. Ham a 1.8 for 4th, and a 10.2 for Nick Moser to round out the top 5. On to the 90 production junior class. These riders 8 to 11 years of age. As the gate gets set to drop, and it does. And in division number 1, we've got the 32 of Jesse Skavark grabbing the lead out there. Austin Edwards, number 38 in the second division, working his way up through the pack out of Canton, North Carolina. Other riders out there on the racetrack include the 14 of Taylor Seal, the 38 of Austin Edwards, the 33 of Colby Gilchrist, the 969 of Brandon Tittle, 181 of Zach Hammond, the number 18 of Andy Witt, the 125 of Chase Walker, the 111 of Dakota Richardson, the 24 of Ryan Harness, the 95 of Austin Miller, also the 55 of Tyler Ashcroft, 67 of B. Duncan Fincher, the 7 of Brandy Cottage, the 22 of Cody Olander, 33/ of Amber Urbis, the 8 of Zachary Gaiola, the number 11 of Dominic Machete, the 18/ of Bobby Basire, and the 108 of Jamie Davis, all making it into the top 20 of our 90 production junior 8 to 11-year-old class riders. As we said, Jesse Skavark, early Moto 1, took the win, took second in the second Moto, and that is good enough for the overall win. It's Skavark, Seal, Edwards, Gilchrist, and Tittle to round out your top 5. 90cc modified 8 to 15-year-olds. Poke them out, stroke them out, let's go racing. As the gates drop, we see that Joel Hetrick, the number 88 from Seneca, Pennsylvania, is going to be the man to beat, as he's got company out there from the number 28 of Jeffrey Rastrelli out of Palm City, Florida. Also Ethan Straney, the number 41 machine, out there knocking on the door early on, but the 88 machine of Hetrick is able to motor his way out front and hold on to it to the checker flag, and actually able to take a second moto win as well. Other riders out there battling it out behind him will be Glenn Masung aboard the number 112. Like we said, Jeffrey Rastrelli aboard the 28, Ethan Straney at the 41. Cody Kropp aboard the number 121, the 151 of Brennan Hansbrough, the number 32 of Jesse Scavard, the 199 of Alexander Nickerson, the 36 DJ Sperling, number 7 Brittany Snyder, the 122 of Austin Fagan, the 00 of Justin Simmons, the number 77 of Sean Walls, 54 of Tyler Skipper, 121 slash of Doug Spiegel, the 38 of Aaron Osborne, the 180 of Chad Davis, 14 Taylor Seal, and the 58 of Cale Dyer. And that rounds out your top riders in Moto 1 and Moto 2 of our 90cc modified 8 to 15-year-old class. We see the 121 there, Cody Kropp. He took a 5th in both his motos to round out the top 5. Ahead of him, though, like we said, Joel Hetrick, a 1-1, but behind him is where things start to get mixed up a little bit. Glenn Masung took a 4th place finish in Moto 1 and a 2nd for the overall 2nd. Rastrelli a 2-4 for the overall 3rd, and it was a 3-6 for Ethan Straney to get the overall 4th place position. Again, Cody Kropp rounding out the top 5 with a 5-5. On to Pro Moto number 2 of this ATVA sanctioned ITP Moose Racing ATVA National Motocross Series, presented to you by Parts Unlimited here at Acheconne. 4th round of 14 here in this 2006 season. We know that it's a long road to hoe for each and every one of these riders, but Joe Bird heads into this round of racing with the points lead and 2 wins on the season. John Natale's finished seconds across the board aboard the number 13, but today he takes a Moto number 1 win. But that guy right there, the 55 of Doug Gust, was closing in on him from way back in the pack. So the number 55, if he gets off to a strong start here, could be the one to watch here in this second moto. Let's see what happens as the gate drops here in Acheconne. It's Moto number 2, Pro Class Racing. Who's going to get the whole shot this time out of the gate? It looks like Natale once again up front. Can he hang on to it? Look right behind him. The number 7 of Joe Bird, your points leader, who worked his way up through the pack. Bird dropped back off to a 3rd place position, but Bird worked his way up from about a 12th or 14th place position in Moto number 1 to start things out, up to a 4th place finish in that first moto. So he is hungry here in the second moto, as it is Natale followed by Brown once more. Can Brown hold on to it? Bird back in 3rd. Havistow getting off to a great start in 4th. Spader in 5th. Tavis Kane in 6th. Dustin Wimmer 7th. Doug Gust in 8th. Corey Ellis 9th. Jones in 10th. Then it's Little followed by Arno. Creamer in 13th. And Harold Goodman in 14th, Dunkelberger in 15th, 16th to be Matt White, 17th, Matt Wienen, and the 911 of Steve Runkle back there in the 18th place position. Looks like Goodman's got his work cut out for him here in Moto number 2 if he intends to finish a strong second moto. We'll see if he's able to do it. He finished 8th in Moto number 1, had a really strong showing in Saturday qualifying action, but let's see if he's going to be able to put the action together that he was able to be a part of in that qualifying moto into the second moto and the overall results, because the second moto does carry the most weight. So if he can finish stronger here in this second moto, it's going to be much better for him. Look at this battle for second place as Bird trying to make the attack from the Joe Bird Quad Riding School, and he's going to move into the number 2 spot, and that was textbook passing right there by the number 7 and current points leader. You know, Joe Bird holding on to the points lead right now has never won the national championship here in the ATV motocross racing, so he is trying to bide his time right early on in the season to establish as many points as possible over the champion of John Natale, Gus Jones, and everybody else that was pegged to win this 2006 racing season. But right now, Bird is basically shutting everyone up out there. Everyone was saying it's going to be Jones. Jones is going to be the man to beat. Jones is going to be the man to beat. Natale's going to fall on his face, but that's not the case. Look at this. Spader now mixing up into the battle for the second place position as he is challenging Bird, and we've seen these riders go at it many times over the course of the last several years of ATV motocross racing. And Joe Bird right now being challenged by Spader. Spader over the course of the last couple of years was actually dabbling with the idea of pulling out of racing. He is a physical therapist, and to think about actually racing full time, you know, you're weighing the options. You know, you've got a guaranteed salary there. You've got one that may or may not come through, but Spader was able to put the sponsorship package together, and he's able to come out here and race as a full-on factory-supported rider here in this 2006 racing season. And he could be a force before this season is over with. He's just trying to get his feet wet, if you will, on that Yamaha, that progressive suspension racing program. But right now, Spader challenging Bird. Brown has dropped back to fourth. Joe Havistow rounding out the top 5. And this has been another surprise in this 2006 racing season. Joe Havistow has been finishing consistently well to give himself an overall top 5 position as far as the points are concerned here in the early part of the season. Will this youngster be able to do it, or will the other riders start to put things together and be able to knock him out of a top 5 spot? I know if he has anything to say about it, he's going to keep riding consistently and staying up there, being a challenger, and hopefully maybe, I know he's thinking in his mind, rise to the occasion to battle with guys like the number 13 of John Natale, the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones when he's on, the 55 of Digger Doug Gus, and that number 7 of Joe Bird, as well as Spader back there. This is a strong run by Spader. You can see Spader wants that position so very badly. In moto number 1, the number 30 actually took a 14th place finish after starting out what seemed to be a pretty strong first moto, but he faded as the race wore on. Let's check in with our leaderboard now. Natale, Bird in 2nd, Spader in 3rd, Brown in 4th, in 5th, Havistow, Kane in 6th, Gus up to 7th, now Wimmer in 8th, Jones up to 9th, Keith Little in 10th, Corey Ellis in 11th, and the Bumblebee, Harold Goodman, rounds out your top 12. We're starting to see the rest of those riders start to fade back a little bit and separate just a bit as the second moto wears on. Again, the temperature's probably not the factor here today, but I'm sure that just the war of attrition in moto number 1 and all that these riders let hang out is starting to take its toll on some of the other riders. But these riders that have been doing their homework in the offseason, the riders that get paid on a weekly basis to come out here and do this from the factories, and all their sponsors are out here and they've got their endurance levels up, and they are the riders that are in peak performance right now. Will that be the case when the checkers fly? Will one of these riders sneak up from the back of the pack and maybe startle the overall when this race day is said and done? It's going to be one of those years. We've already seen it happening in the first 3 rounds of racing. All the changes that can take place. John Natale with the lead in California, dropping back to 4th to take an overall 2nd. We've seen Joe Bird, who was leading and battling for the lead in moto number 1 at Gatorback, break a shock to drop back to 15th to finish an overall 2nd in the second moto to bring him to an overall 5th when the race day was all said and done. So a lot of things have been going on out there, and we know that still a lot more can happen as this is early on in the season. A lot of riders getting their bad luck out early. Jeremiah Jones, a lot of people are thinking he's getting his bad luck out early, but can he pull it together here in this 4th round of racing? He was up to an 8th place position at last check. Right now, Doug Gust up into a 7th place position. Right behind him is Jeremiah Jones. So the 2 Yoshimura Suzuki riders have hooked together and are going to try to work their way to the front of the pack. But that is good news for John Natale here on lap number 4, as he still has a little bit of breathing room out there and a gap between himself and what he would consider the contenders of Jones and Digger Doug Gus. But the other contender is right back there in that 2nd place position. That is the number 7 of Joe Bird. Bird took a 4th place finish in moto number 1 after working his way out from outside the top 10, and he did it 1 rider at a time, in some instances 2 riders at a time, to get in that 4th place position. But gets off to a much stronger start here in the second moto and is keeping John Natale very honest here in the early part of this race. Natale has not been able to stretch things out, so if Natale has to continue to ride at this level after seeing him how he had to ride at the level that he rode in moto number 1, and we've seen him fade, like we said, in a couple of earlier races, just due to, I don't know whether it's overtraining or whether there's just something going on out there, but Natale has been having problems as the motos wear on, and if Bird can stay where he's at, he might be able to force Natale into a mistake late in the race. It's just going to be a time game at this point. I know that Joe Bird is hungry enough right now, especially with that points lead, and Natale so very close behind, that he needs to get out front of Natale to make a statement, if nothing else, to the champion out there that he is a true contender and to watch out for him. Don't count him out this early in the season. Though Joe Bird has never won a championship, He's been in the hunt several times. Things have happened in the past that have we've seen it slowly dwindle away. But we'll see if that experience has taught him anything over the course of time and whether he's going to be able to utilize it here in the 06 season. Battle for fourth shaping up now between Havistow and Jones. Jones feeling the pressure from Havistow. Havistow feeling the pressure from Jones as they continue to motor along and they work their way up. As you can see, Jones is quickly working his way up to the pack. At last check, he was up to 8th place right behind Gus, who was running in the 7th place position. So now Jones is on the move, and he is working this racetrack, this sandy, rough race course at Acheconne, Georgia, just outside of Lozella, in his favor. He is on a rail out there on this race course. Is it going to be a rail fast enough to reel in Bird and Natali, who are battling it out for the number 1 spot? Look at this. Natali felt comfort in Moto 1. He has yet to feel comfort here in this second moto. You look and you say, hey, there's 10 quad links in between these two riders, but that is not a safety or a comfort zone for John Natali when Joe Bird is back there. Joe Bird basically wrote the book on how to make passes and how to do it textbook style. And we'll see if he's able to work all the elements together and show his students here that he is a professor and that he can make them work. I know that John Natali is digging very deep. Another rider digging very deep. Up to 4th place now is Jeremiah Jones. Will he be able to reel in John Natali? Now, Jeremiah Jones in moto number 1 finished in a 15th place position. That is not an indication of how that rider rode. Again, bad luck plagues Jeremiah Jones. And will it do the same here in this second moto of the 4th round of racing for the 4th consecutive race? Jeremiah Jones has showed on more than one occasion that he has the speed to run up front. He has the speed to win, but consistency and luck has not been on his side. However, consistency and luck has been on the side of the number 7 of Joe Bird, as it has the number 13 of John Natali. Now, Natali has had his bad luck so far in this 2006 season, but it's not been bad enough to take him out of at least a 2nd place position whenever the checkered flag flies and both motos are finally scored and counted to see who's going to take the overall. So Natali still in the hunt for the championship. He's not counting this one out yet. Again, a 14-round series, we can't begin to count things out. Natali now starting to stretch things out a little bit more over Joe Bird than what we saw him in the early part of this moto, but can he continue to do so? Man, maybe not. It looked like he was starting to stretch it out, but right back at it goes the number 7 of Joe Bird. So every time it looks like Natali may be beginning to pick things up a little bit, Joe Bird retaliates and keeps him well within sight and well within distance before that checker flag flies, so he'll be able to move on up and maybe challenge to take the second moto win. It's a classic battle. This could be the battle right down not only through this race, but through the entire championship points race in this season between Natali and Bird. Of course, Natali taking the 2005 championship. A lot of folks were saying, hey, he's going to be able to do it again, but even more were saying that he wasn't going to be able to do it. Uh-oh, troubles again for the number 8 of Jason Luberg, who was running so strong in moto number 1. And we saw him have those problems, the smoke coming out of his machine. He actually finished 20th. It looks like he's going to be DNFing here in the second moto as he is out of this race. But Jeremiah Jones, as we were saying, was the one that was deemed the one that was going to win the championship this year. As a lot of folks were thinking that John Natali wasn't going to be in shape to do it, that he partied too much in the offseason because of the championship and just kind of let it all get to his head. But right now it's not looking like that. And Jeremiah Jones has shown what a lot of people expected out of him, but luck has not been on his side. Silly things happen. Just a piece break here, piece break there, whether it be from getting in a fourth turn pile up out in Glen Helen, or whether it be from a rock flipping up and hitting your ignition switch, or whatever the case may be. It has just not been on his side, though he has shown the speed. So can Jones redeem himself here in Moto 2? Back and forth, that's a pretty good redemption, I think, here. But again, all eyes are on this battle up front. Again, this battle, I guess you could almost say, for the overall points lead heading into this round of racing. And Joe Bird is just trying to keep him, like we said, within sight there. Even if John Natali does take the win, Bird will still be able to walk away from this race, this round of racing, with the points lead in the series. And that's what Bird is counting right now, points. It's hard to believe he's counting points this early in the season. But when you establish a points lead and you are the leader and the one that everybody's gunning after, then you got to start doing the math earlier than probably what you would have hoped. I know that a lot of these riders like to think, hey, I just want to race, and when we get down to the end of the season, I want to be there in the hunt and try to really pour it on then. But right now, right out of the gate for these riders is it is nip and tuck for all the riders. John Natale, Joe Bird back in the second place position, holding on to a solid third place position. Right now in this second moto of racing is Travis Spader aboard the number 30 with Jeremiah Jones back in the fourth place spot. It looks like Jones is starting to try to challenge the number 30 of Spader. Will he be able to get around him? Time will tell as it is beginning to run out here in this second moto of racing. Joe Bird through the mechanics area, as does John Natale. D. Manshak giving him the pit board to think, stay focused, and ride as smooth as possible. Look at this battle for third now between Spader and Jones. Watch him go at it now. How will this one all break down? We know that Spader has a lot of experience, as does Jones. Now, he doesn't have as many years on the race course as Travis Spader, and he has been on the race course a lot more in the recent years on a more consistent basis than Spader, so that might be something that will play to his advantage. That and the fact that the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones feels so comfortable out here on these sands of Acheconne. Seeing the number 191 of Dustin Wimmer. Wimmer trying to work his way up through the pack. He finished 7th in Moto 1. He was running top 5 in the early part of that. Trying to work his way up into a 6th place spot right now aboard that Honda machine. But it is still Natale, still Bird. The battle for third back there between Spader and the number 2 of Jeremiah Jones for the third, fourth place spot. Joe Havistow, the youngster aboard the number 75. Havistow out of New Ipswich, New Hampshire, rounds him out back there in that 5th place position. This kid, again, is going to be the quiet one. You know, he might be a contender for a championship depending on how things go, especially if he stays as consistent as what he has been in the early part of the season. Look at Jones work on Spader, but Spader shuts the door at every turn except for this one as they pull up side by side now. It's racing action through the mechanics area, but Jones is not going to be able to make the pass. Spader's able to keep the momentum on the outside, but look at these acceleration bumps. It's like a whoop field all the way around this race course. It's solid whoops up to the base of each one of these jumps, and then the riders have to jump, and that seems to be the only rest they're getting right now because this race course has turned into a challenge in itself. Not only do they have the flat areas that are turned into the whoops, but they've got the jumps, and they've got everything else that man-made obstacle, but now it's natural obstacles that are beginning to develop. And look at this, Jones still trying to get around Spader. Spader spins it out. He goes down off the machine. Tough break for the number 30 there. Jeremiah Jones will move into third. No, look at this. Spader actually got caught up with Jeremiah Jones, allowing the 75 of Havistow to move into third. Now, Jones has got to get back around the number 75 of Havistow. This is a good start to this second moto. Actually, not start, but a good way to start the finish and the latter half of this second moto, as the 75 of Joe Havistow is right where he wants to be, and that is in a podium position finish in the second moto. Will it be good enough for an overall top 3? We'll have to wait and see how Doug Gust, Corey Ellis, Dustin Wimmer, Tavis Kane, and all those other guys finish up in this second moto. But Havistow is currently running in a third place position, and I know that he has got to be stoked and happy with the way things are going so far from him, especially after the solid run that he put in Florida only a couple of weeks ago. He was actually able to take the overall third, and he did that with a 3.7. So heading into this second moto here at Acheconne with a 4th place finish, or 5th place finish, you'd think that he thinks that things might work out for him. But John Natale, in the meantime, while we're trying to get it all sorted out, takes the checkers and the overall win with a 1-1 here at Acheconne. And the champ is back. Can he keep it on track? I guess we'll find out when round 5 rolls around here before too much longer. Right now, he's feeling his Wheaties as the smoke rolls here at Acheconne.
You know, my Rage motor got me out there today, and my Maxxis tires and my tire balls hooking up off that cement and just driving me that first corner, and the Elka shocks just did the rest. All I had to do was sit on it and hit the gas, so, you know, it made it easy on me.
I got a bad start to first moto, and I spent a lot of energy. Second moto, I just didn't have it in me. John rode real good, so did Joe, and I'm just happy I got up here in third.
Yeah, I tell you, I got a bad start. That was my fault. I didn't gate good, and had more work cut out for me. So I just things didn't go my way this weekend, but we're happy with the second. Still there in the hunt for the points. So try harder next time.
Another one of those wild race days here at the 2006 ITP Moose Racing ATV National Motocross Series. And Natale takes his first win of the season. Bird in second, Gust in third, Havistow in a 4th place position, and Corey Ellis rounds out your top 5. So take a look at the celebration at the winner's circle. A big smile on the champ, and also a big smile on Big Bird there, Joe Bird, as he knows he is going to walk away from this race still in the points lead. It's 70 shifter 6-11 coming up next. And these riders get the opportunity to try their hand with the clutch and the shifter for the first time. Riders 6-11 years old, so a lot of these kids are just cutting their teeth as far as shifting gears are concerned. As the gate drops in moto number 1, see a great battle starting to shape up there as the number 8 of Cam Koval from Webster, Florida will open up with, well, a 3rd place position, but eventually works his way into the number 1 spot to take a moto number 1 win. Other riders out there that he has to contend with include the 969 of Brandon Tittle, the 33 of Dylan Starks, the 44 of Tyler Pittman, the 209 of Brett Music, also the number 91 slash of Brandon Boswell, the 81 of Lee Rentz, 24 of David Nevrotsky, the 120 of Jesse Putnam, the 84 of Alex Zimborski, the 91 of Hannah Furman, and the 22 of Katie Glaser. 12 riders in our 70 shifter 6-11-year-old class. And in moto number 1, Cam Koval working his way to the number 1 spot, and we'll get to see him leading practically all of this moto as he worked his way from 3rd up to the 1st place position, and from that point on was the commander of moto number 1. Now, moto number 2, he's going to find himself in a little bit of a problem as the 969 of Brandon Tittle is able to take a 2nd moto win. Dylan Starks, the number 33 machine, who finishes 2nd in moto number 1, will finish 2nd in moto number 2, so consistency will pay off there for that number 33 ride. And Cam Koval, who took a 1st place position in moto number 1, drops all the way to 3rd in the 2nd moto. And whenever you start adding things up, we actually get a 3-way tie for the overall with Tittle, Starks, and Koval, with the best finish in the 2nd moto. Breaks any and all ties, so it will be Brandon Tittle who will take the overall win. Dylan Starks will take 2nd place. 3rd place on the race weekend will go to the number 8 of Cam Koval. And then consistency paying off for the 44 of Tyler Pittman as he actually finishes 4th in both motos. A 4-4 will score 4 for him. And Brett Music rounds out the top 5 with a 6-5 here in the 70 shifter 6-11. Continuing with our youth classes now, the 70 production 6-11-year-olds. This is an automatic class. Last class we saw was the shifters. Here's the autos. Gates drop and the racing action gets underway. And the 969 of Brandon Tittle from Florence, Alabama grabs the early lead. And it looks like he's going to be the one to beat out here in moto number 1. Other riders trying to get it done out there include like the number 120 of Jesse Putnam, the number 24 of David Nevrotsky, the 111 Dakota Richardson, the 345 of Cole Sepisi, the number 4 of Ty Campbell, the 7 slash of Christian Horn, the 62 of Johnny Luce, the number 7 of Rhett Sims, number 209 Brett Music, 199 of Hunter Titus, the number 20 of Hannah Sharp, the 99 of Jeremy Ladon, the number 40 of Hunter Armstrong, number 59 of Trevor Miller, number 1 of Randall Ridden, number 18 Bobby Bassire, the 42 of Alyssa Byler, 127 Carly Eckert, and the 771 of Joseph Epsey. DNF'd in moto number 1 and unfortunately couldn't start moto number 2. There's the 209 of Brett Music. We see him making his way by here late in the first moto of racing action here in Georgia. Checkers are going to soon be flying as we see the number 969 of Brandon Tittle not only take a Moto 1 win, but a Moto 2 win. See things get jumbled up a little bit. Jesse Putnam a 4-2 to take the overall 2nd. And overall 3rd will go to the 24 of David Nevrotsky out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as he takes a 3rd in Moto 1 and a 4th in Moto number 2. Dakota Richardson, who had a great showing in the 2nd moto with a 3rd place finish, backed that up on a 9th place finish from the first moto. But believe it or not, a 9-3 good enough for a 4th overall. Rounding out the top 5, the 345 of Sepisi with an 8-5. Up next, the smaller of all of our racers out there, and this is our 50cc production auto 6 to 8-year-olds, and not only smaller racers but also smaller machines. It sounds like a hive of bumblebees out there on the race course as they turn them loose out there. As you see the number 17 of Reed Eckert out of Jasper, Indiana, grabbing the early lead in his division race. Again, we've got more than 20 riders vying for only 20 positions on the gate, so we narrow it down there. So we have a couple of different divisions as we see that not only is the number 4 of Todd Baber going to take a moto win out there, but so will the number 84 of Alex Zimborski. We see there the number 4 now making his way by Todd Baber from Scottsville, Virginia. Yep, he's able to pull off a moto win. He will end up finishing 7th overall when it's all said and done, as he'll back that first moto win up with an 8th place finish. So the Scottsville, Virginia rider not having consistency pay off for him here on this race day. Other riders that we watch out for as the moto wears on, we see that Alex Zimborski will take a moto win in the first moto, a 2nd place finish in the second moto will be good enough for an overall 2nd. And Ryan Harness, the number 24 Slash, whom we don't get to see a lot of, actually takes the overall win. The 24 Slash Cobra pilot is out of Beebe, Arkansas. Takes a 2nd in moto number 1 and a 1st in the 2nd moto to claim the honors of the overall champion here at the 50cc production auto 6 to 8-year-old class. We see Alex Zimborski out there aboard the number 84, Bradley Rose aboard the 98, Reed Eckert the 17, Cole Sepisi the 345, 99 of Jeremy Ladon, the 4 of Todd Baber, 222 of Tyler Heron, the 119 of Michael DeLuca, Zachary Gaioli aboard the number 8, the number 2 of John Hoover, the 192 of Tyler Edmondson, the 42 of Austin Lunsford, the number 1 of Randall Ridden, 13 of Austin Stevens, the 34 of Reed Sanchez, the 11X of Andrew Davidovich, also the 22 of Kendall Olander, Troy Smoot aboard the 36, and Alexander Hammond aboard the 171. But it was Ryan Harness when it was all said and done, with Zimborski and Rose in 2nd and 3rd. Now on to the smallest of our smallest classes, the 50 stock limited 4 to 16-year-olds, 15 riders in all, including the 51 of Jeffrey Dodson, 422 Connor Furman, the 717 Mike Gleason, the 85 of Adam Zimborski, the 44 of Nolan Cochran, the 86 Slash of Alexis Wells, the 88 of Jordan Digby, the number 3 of Damian King, the number 151 of Keely Miller, the 61 of Nicholas Descusalis, the number 49 of Keegan Adamson, 20 Slash of Jacob Beavers, the 555 Hunter Cook, Amanda and Zimborski aboard the 86, and Timmy Harris aboard the number 2. When it's all said and done, Dodson a 1-1, Connor Furman a 2-2, and a 3-3 for Mike Gleason. That'll do it for ATVA Motocross here on DVD. Remember, if you want to order more, be sure and log on to the World Wide Web at mototees.com.